Hi, welcome to the Israel First television program with myself, Martin Blackham, and with my wife, Nathalie Blackham. Great to have you with us for the program. We welcome you across the world, and with a program that looks at Israel, we look at the news, and we look behind the news, and we look at the Hebrew language and the Hebraic understanding. Now, as we come to you today, Israel is in the midst of the ceasefire, the Gaza war ceasefire part 2, whatever that is. There are still skirmishes going on inside of Gaza, and the Rafah crossing has been opened, albeit that it's not completely open, temporarily open maybe, but it is open, and so there is relief going into Gaza, and that's the current position there. Iran, that's a very good question. Who knows? We did have the protests in Iran, which I understand are still ongoing, and the situation is that Trump was sending an armada of ships to Iran, to the area,
the Gulf.
to the Gulf, and he was going to continue talks with Iran, and that's what the current position is. Nothing has changed as far as that is all concerned. And you say, well, what has Iran got to do with Israel? Well, if there is a war with Iran from America, then Israel will be attacked with missiles. Now, a very exciting news. We've been talking about Judea and Samaria over many years, having very many guests into the studio to talk about Judea and Samaria. Well, this week the Israeli cabinet has moved to change the legal status in Judea and Samaria, and this is very important. The cabinet has approved a series of significant decisions affecting the communities that change the legal and civil reality in Judea and Samaria. Some of you may remember that we've had guests on to talk about the legal status of Judea and Samaria, so this is very important. It was led, the changes have been led by Defense Minister Israel Katz and the Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, and they formulated a settlement administration within the Defense Ministry aimed at removing long-standing regulatory barriers, repealing Jordanian-era legislation and accelerating settlement development in the area.
Very good news. You need to remember Samaria. When you look at Jerusalem, Samaria is in the north of Jerusalem, and Judea is in the south of Jerusalem. Judea was part of Judah, the tribe of Judah, which was David's tribe.
Now, one of the things is the decision has meant that a lot of people are going to be more stable when they make decisions to purchase properties in Judea and Samaria. Now, just to make it clear what we're talking about, the left-wing press, or the majority of the press in the world, call it the West Bank. But it is Judea and Samaria. Now, a central decision concerning land management. Until now, registries in Judea and Samaria were classified. I didn't know that. Unlike those within inside the Green Line, complicating land transactions because they're secret. Who knows what's going on? The cabinet ordered the removal of confidentiality and the publication of land registries, a move intended to increase transparency and facilitate lawful land acquisition. So you can know now who you're buying the land off. Under the new policy, the transaction permit requirement has been eliminated and the ban on sales to foreigners lifted. So that's good news for those of you outside of Israel and you're interested in buying land in Judea and Samaria. So that's very good news. Another decision affects the planning authority in the city of Hebron, which has been a thorny place with regards to the development. We've talked about that on the program and had guests. In fact, the spokesperson for Hebron came on the program, and we were talking about the importance of Hebron. And following delays attributed to the Palestinian municipality, building permit authority for Jewish areas near the Cave of the Patriarchs and other holy sites will be transferred directly to the civil administration's planning bodies. This change is intended to streamline planning processes and eliminate the need for ad hoc authority transfers. The Cabinet also approved granting full municipal powers to the Hebron Directorate, enabling independently address residents' needs and enforce local regulations.
So again, when you say all of that, the cave of the patriarchs is where Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are buried with their wives Sarah and Rebecca and Leah, and because Rachel is in Bethlehem, and it's a very important place. So he's like, again, is like the roots of Israel is going to be able to flourish, and more people are going to be able to purchase places. So it's very important.
Now, one of the big news items which I've been talking about for quite a long time is autonomous vehicles and my concern about them, and indeed many other people's concerns about autonomous vehicles. Now, Tesla, who is probably one of the leaders, Tesla is one of the big auto giants from the United States, one of the leaders in autonomous driving, is going to start tests in Israel. Again, we've talked that they have done it before, but they have approval now from the Transport Ministry to do tests again. The critics of autonomous vehicles, of which I am one, quite rightly say they are dangerous as the computer systems may not recognise pedestrians, animals, debris, or other objects near or on roadways. Now, what's very interesting, and you need to think about this, is that when you have a computer system doing it, it can do a limited, or I think limited number of decisions. And how does it make its decisions? You know, what moral, background has it got to make its decisions? For example, if there's animals in the road and it's going to avoid damaging another car, which will cost a lot of money, or hit the animals, does it avoid hitting a car and damage and kill the animals? This is a very important question because the whole thing is based on a computer making the decisions, not a human. And, it's a great concern. They're going to begin supervised autonomous trials, which means that they'll have a driver in the seat, albeit that the autonomous system is doing all the work. He will sit behind the steering wheel just in case. I'm not sure what he could do at the last minute, but anyway, that's what they're going to do.
Break.
And it's going to be Tesla's self-driving system, which will allow the cars to operate autonomously. The State of Israel leads in innovation with giant steps, integrating smart autonomous systems on roads under supervision and control. Another step towards strengthening road safety. I wouldn't say that's wrong. This is Transportation Minister Mini Regev. Israel currently serves as a preferred testing and development arena for advanced vehicle technologies for leading global vehicle manufacturers. So they're keen to get these people to do their tests in Israel. Commentators are, though, critical of self-driving vehicles, citing the risk of system failures, such as the autopilot activating when it shouldn't or failing to activate when needed. These glitches can lead to accidents like crashing into lane dividers, street signs. Self-driving cars may not always stop for pedestrians, posing danger to those crossing the road. We all know that suddenly people rush out into the road. We've all done it from time to time just because of urgency or something, and trying to cross a road, and they might not stop in time. While the autonomous vehicle can learn and become smarter, it won't be able to understand all directions. For example, how will it know if there's an Israeli traffic policeman who's signaling traffic? Now, that's one of the things we have here, is that we have, when there's road works or things like that, we have in Israel these people with the cap. They have a specific cap on their head so you know who they are, and they will stop you. But what if you are a self-driving vehicle and you don't know that this is an official, and you think you can keep going because they're not official and they shouldn't be standing there telling you to stop? So this is the kind of thing that can happen. The weather can become poor. Why is that the weather's so important? Because cameras are the ones doing all the work. And if the weather's poor, the cameras can't always work and the sensors might not work. There's also communication issues. What happens if the system can't communicate properly with itself? They've been tested, by the way, as I say, on the streets of Israel since 2022. So it's nothing new, but I think it's something of concern. Now, I know that it's happening everywhere in the world, particularly in America, in California, self-driving vehicles. But it is I don't think, a good development. And Israel first. So if Israel is having these things, be careful, they're coming to you. Now, one of the things I've been talking about is the difficulties of reporting from Gaza. Journalists are not allowed into Gaza. The Foreign Press Association has been fighting in the courts to get acceptance of journalists to go in to Gaza to report what's happening. Why is it so important? Because eyes on the ground are the most important way of effectively telling journalism. Eyewitness, I remember from my journalism school that eyewitness reporting is the most accurate. Somebody who actually sees something happening in front of their eyes and reports it. And if we can't do that, even with modern technology, it is a problem. Now, they've been allowing some journalists in, but they have been embedded with the army and obviously subject to army restrictions as to what they can say. There've also been local Arab journalists in Gaza, but they've been subject to Hamas. You wouldn't be allowed to be there and to work there unless Hamas said you could. So they have not been free to say what's going on either. So we have had a dearth of independent reporting from Gaza. But the foreign press have been fighting in the High Court and have appealed to the High Court to make a decision on this. The High Court of Justice has again avoided the decision, Nathalie. They have decided not to make a decision. Indecision could be called the decision. And they've held that off, and they've asked but they have, to be fair to the High Court in Israel, they have asked the state to justify their decision not to allow journalists in and to respond to the Foreign Press Association's demands to allow foreign journalists, and indeed any journalists, into Gaza to report on the situation. So we'll keep you updated as to that. And remember, we've been talking about a war which has been going on since 2023, and Gaza before 2023 was open to journalists to go in, but since that time, for the last 2 or 3 years, if you count it as 2026, we have not been able to report there. And it's important for you to know that, because a lot of people say they see things on BBC or on Sky or on the news or Fox in America. They see things on television and say, can you verify, Martin and Nathalie, whether this is true or not? And as I've said, no, we can't, because we can't go there. Well, one of the other things that's been happening is the situation with stress or trauma. The nation has suffered trauma, Nathalie, completely, as everybody can testify. Now, 2 years into the war, 1 in every 5 calls to ERM, we talked about ERM before, they deal with trauma calls, is from a child or adolescent, which is quite staggering. Behind the harsh data lies ongoing anxiety, cut short childhoods, and parents striving to stay emotionally steady. Remember that it's not just parents who've been through the last years of war with Gaza. It's not just been the adults, but it's also been children who've had missiles fired at schools. They've been going into bomb shelters, both at school and at home, and have suffered from the trauma.
Disturbed night.
Right. And Erin, which stands for the Emotional First Aid Association, marking Erin Week, raised awareness of the serious situation of distress amongst children. This is something, I think we've spoken about it before, emphasizing the critical role of listening and supporting in saving lives. Erin has been dealing with the ongoing reality that has left very little room for experiencing of childhood. A lot of children have lost their childish things because of the war, lost their childhood. For many of them, it was a forgotten childhood, one that took place on the sidelines while the world around them was busy coping with one crisis after another. This is a generation of children who have developed amid a sequence of upheavals from indeed from COVID, from social isolation through prolonged life under the shadow of anxiety and fear, to the Iron Swords War, evacuation from homes, parents in reserve duty, disruption of routine and existential uncertainty. And so this is something which we'll continue to let you know what's happening, but it's something which is very important for you to know about. Now, Nathalie.
And it will have consequences too.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, Nathalie, you are bringing us the Hebrew language. You've recently been doing some Hebrew letters for the people, for our viewers, for our friends at home. And Nathalie, what have you got for us on this episode?
So we carry on, and now we are in the number 5. I will remember you. The first one is Aleph, second one is Bet, third one is Gimel, fourth one is Dalet, and now we are with Hey. Hey, which is very interesting because it's like a breath, is number 5, is like this letter. Okay, so funny enough, we look at Dalet last week, which is without that, and now we have a little bar here. And is 2 of these letters are in the name of God, the sacred name of God, and is very interesting because in Genesis we say that God breathed in the nostril of Adam, and hey is just a breath. You don't hear it. It's not like pronounced. You don't use your mouth to say it. It's just hey, a breath. And it's very interesting because we saw it also in the, like for Abraham, his name was Abram, and God called him, and then he said, now I'm going to give you another name, and he had a H in it, Abraham. And the same for Sarah, Sarah was called Sarai, princess, and then when they put a hey, it was my princess. So there was a relationship, there was something happening for both of them. One thing we can remember, and is very important, is like, so we say it's the number 5, numerical order, and there was 5 books written by Moses, the first 5 books. So let us say Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. It's interesting. The first 4 books is Moses speaking to God, and the last one in Deuteronomy is Moses speaking to the people, saying a lot of things that God has said in the 4th other books, but is now Moses speaking to the people. And also something that I didn't know a long time ago, but I've learned, and is very important also, like the Psalms, there is 5 books. Because usually we think, well, there is like, from 1 to, funny enough, I can't remember, to when it's finishing. I can't remember. You have to look in your own Bible. And there is 5 books written by David the king. And so it's very important. And when you look at the books, the first 5 books of Moses is very much for us to know how to live in our daily life for the Jewish people, and how to communicate with each other and all of that. And when you look at the Tehillim, the Psalms, is more touching also a spiritual realm of God, of the world. And a lot of people are using the Psalms is actually almost any type of like how you can feel in your heart, and you're in distress or you're in joy, And so when you read the Psalms, you can really how do we say? Is you can take it personally. You can read it and like, well, God, I'm praying to you today, and it's really personal. That's it, the word that I was trying to find. So it's very important. One thing that I wanted to remind you, we spoke about that already, but is like something again very important. It's written only once in the Bible. Then God had a friend, and who was it? It was Abraham. And we say, and a lot of people know, yeah, Abraham was the God of friend. Abraham was the friend of God. Sorry, and when you read it and when you look at the translation, it's not chaver, like a friend. Chaver means like you have a connection with somebody. Is written ohavi, which means my lover. Is ohev, like it's like I would say ani ohev otcha, ohevet otcha. I love you, like I would say that to Martin. Ani ohevet otcha is like the name love. And so God in this passage is in Isaiah, I think. Yeah, Isaiah 41 verse 8, God is saying that Abraham is my friend and is ohavi, so is my lover. So again, we can see everything is about our connection with God, not just like he's the God far away, but is him who loves us and us who have the freedom to choose to love him. Okay, he always gives us the freedom to love him, because obviously love has to be with freedom. Okay, so this is what I wanted to tell you. There was also another thing. Is also in his James, the book of James, in chapter 2:23, is saying again also Abraham is the lover of God. So it's interesting to have it in the Old Testament, as people say, le Tenach, and also in the New Testament. So this is very good. And I wanted also to tell you something that I discovered this week when I was studying, and is very, very beautiful, is talking a bit of something different, but very important for us to know how to be with God and how to be with ourselves. So I was reading the passage in Ezekiel, chapter 1 to chapter 3, which is the vision and is the call of God for Ezekiel, the prophet. And there, God said, I'm calling you to these people who are rebellious and obstinate. And I was like, well, the name is a bit like not very precise. Let me look at it in Hebrew. And in Hebrew is from the root kashe, which means hard, and the other one was from chasak, the root of chasak, which means kashe is hard and chasak is strong. So he's like, I'm sending you to some people who are hard and strong. And I was like, wow, this is so interesting, because God asks us to be soft on ourselves. And very often we learn to be too strong on ourselves. I need to do this and I need to do that and I need to change. But you have to do it. We change because we can see that God loves us, his loving kindness, which is chesed, is like washing us with his water. And because he does that, is making us changing, because we just receive his love. And he doesn't ask us to be perfect. He asks us to be holy, which means separated, which means you choose to follow him. He will never say, you have to do this, you have to do that. He's like, I show you the way. So which way are you choosing? And I think it's very, very important for us in our personal life. And I was speaking with friends, and we are like studying about it and saying how we need to change, that we've been like, sometimes religion puts something on you and you have to change. But it's like, no, it's like God is transforming us. And because we see how he loves us, He's transforming us and we are moving with him. And there was another part where he's like saying, the people are rebellious. So I look at the name again, and it's Mary, and is like coming also from the root of ma, which is bitterness, which was very, very interesting. So rebellion can be like a source of bitterness, and the opposite is to have gratitude, to see all the things that God is doing for us. Sometimes we don't understand what He's doing. Sometimes it's hard in our life. He never said that life will be easy, but He's bringing us somewhere, and He knows the best way. And I tell you, we see it in our life. Even if it's hard, even if it's not easy, we know that is the way, because He's teaching us through all of that how good He is, how it's Him who is in charge. And if we let Him, if we let ourselves go and follow Him and choose Him, He shows it like a beautiful way. And I wanted to encourage you in that don't be too hard on yourself. Be kind with yourself. Be soft with your soul, and just enjoy to follow Him.
Now, if you'd like to see more of Nathalie's teachings and understanding about the Hebrew letters, you can register for the weekly update. Nathalie does a teaching in the weekly update, and you can get that at our website, www.israelfirst.org. You can also get the news stories on a daily basis. We're not able to cover all the news stories in the program, but you can see them there, and you can also subscribe to our Substack account and receive it in your email box in the morning. You can get the latest news from Israel on that day. Don't forget, we have a support button you can go to on the website, which again is very important, because it's because of your help and support across the world that we're able to come to your home and bring you the Israel First TV program. So thank you so much to everybody who is making it possible. And don't forget, with a program that looks at the land, the people, and the language.